do it yourself, but I have been involved in many a lawsuit cleaning up contracts or messes or problems because of improper execution of a contract.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Most of the business we see is cleaning up something. They come in just days before closing, and now we have to undo something that sometimes can't be undone in a couple days. So that's one of the reasons why you have to be so very careful about trying to perform surgery on yourself. That's what we say. We wouldn't numb ourselves up to do surgery. But there's always different situations, and I'm always open to having a call from a for sale by owner, because I'd like to find out, why are you selling? Because, again, if they're behind on their payments and they think they're ready for foreclosure, maybe they don't have to sell. Maybe we can help save them from foreclosure right now because of the hardest hit program. If they're trying to sell because foreclosure is very close, you can help from the law side, Jonathan, because you can defend foreclosure for a while. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, on the foreclosure defense side, the primary goal of foreclosure defense is to reach a resolution with the bank, whether it's to sell the home, and you'll often hear the term short sale. A short sale is when you owe the bank more than the property is worth. So in order to sell the home, the bank has to agree to accept a reduced payment on their debt, and that's called a short sale. A short payoff is really what it's referring to. The bank is accepting less than they're owed and allowing you to sell the property. A short sale is what I call a graceful exit from the home. It is better to sell the home yourself on your own terms with a regular closing. The unfortunate part is you usually don't walk away with money, though we often can get relocation money for our clients. We have a closing next week where the client is actually a short sale and still going to walk away with $3,000 in relocation funds. So every once in a while, though it's no guarantee, we can actually get some money out of the short sale process. But even if you don't, you still get to have a closing date, have your moving trucks, get out of the property on your own terms. Whereas the alternative is usually foreclosure, and that's where the bank goes through the court system and ultimately takes your home from you. And while, again, if you're a client of mine, you will be advised and we will prevent anything bad from happening, you still may lose your home. But for those who are ignorant and don't pay attention to the notices, the sheriff will ultimately show up and knock on your door and say, time to get out. And while you will get notice, many people sadly ignore those notices. This is not a case where being an ostrich is good thing. Burying your head in the sand will not make the problem go away.
But even if they come to you for advice, sometimes you can, if it's to the point where they have to do foreclosure, you can postpone it as much as possible legally. There's ways to legally postpone it.
Again, the law is such that I cannot, as an attorney, intentionally delay a legal process. That said, I can make the plaintiff, the bank, prove their case, and I can make them do all of the appropriate steps instead of taking shortcuts. And again, those who have been paying attention for the last 10 years or so, especially in 08, 9, 10, there were a lot of law firms who were just steamrolling over homeowners without following proper procedure. And then we defense attorneys stepped in and said, no, you may ultimately be able to take the home if they don't pay, but you're not just going to take it without following the rules. And so it is by enforcing those rules that we essentially protect the homeowner and use that as leverage to negotiate with the bank and try to create a win-win situation. It's an unfortunate state to be in, but if we can create a win-win, be it a short sale, a loan modification wherein they reduce your debt and enable you to stay in the home because you can now afford it with a reduced interest rate and extended term, a variety of things you can do with a loan modification, or other government programs, as we talked about the hardest hit. If the reason you're in arrears is because of a lost job, then again, there are programs out there that can assist you.
I know the hardest hit has several different arms to it. We talked about assisting you with the mortgage payment, but sometimes if people are current and they're not behind on their payment, but they're paying on a loan that's up to $50,000 over what the house is
actually
valued.
What you're referring to is the principal reduction program, and that is a separate program under the same guidance of the Florida Housing Finance Agency, Florida Housing Finance Corporation, which is the state financing agency, pardon me. principal reduction program is designed for not for people who are in distress, but rather people who are making their mortgage payment, but they owe more than 115%, 115. So if your house is worth $100,000 and you owe $115,000, then the state will pay up to $50,000 to reduce your debt down to 100%. So in my example, if you owe 115 and it's worth 100, they'll give you $15,000 so that you only owe 100. If you owe 170 and it's worth 100, they'll give you 50,000. So you still owe 120. You're still upside down, but you've got $50,000 of free money. And we should mention in both of these programs, the Florida Hardest Hit Fund and the Principal Reduction Program, it is free to apply. So if you're interested in the program, you have any curiosity about it, of course, give us a call or go online and check it out. But it is free to apply. So the only thing you're doing by applying is spending some time. There is no money involved. And then the funds that are given are, I like to call them free. I'm not allowed to say it that way. There is what I call an asterisk. There is a payback if you sell the home, and it's a reducing debt, so I won't get into it on the air here. But if you sell the home within a 5-year period, you may have to pay some of the money back, but you may not. And if you keep the home for at least 5 years, then you do not have to pay the money back. So it is essentially free funds to keep you in your home.
I always say it's a funding that turns into a gift. So it's a great opportunity. It wasn't set up for people to flip homes and so forth. It was set up for people that own their home and want to stay there and save their homestead. So that
the Principal Reduction Program is an excellent program. The idea was to get people down to 100% so that as they're making their mortgage payment, they are reducing, or they're building equity. They're reducing their debt and building equity. If you owe $120,000, $100,000 house, and you're paying a couple $100 a month towards principal, you're stuck in that house for 10, 12, 15 years before you get down to having equity. So this gives you that instant opportunity to have equity. So
when they pay down, when the hardest hit pays it down, then what do they do? Refinance it so then it becomes 100%?
No, what part of the program is the lenders who are participating, which is most lenders now, they will re-amortize your debt to lower your mortgage payment. Now, again, there are different criteria and different circumstances depending on the type of loan. FHA loans are different than VA loans, et cetera. But depending on the type of loan, essentially the lender will receive this, we'll call it $50,000 or $20,000, whatever it is, and they will reduce your principal, and then they'll recalculate your debt based on the new principal, which will have the effect of lowering your monthly mortgage payment.
That's right. There's just so many, and I know, Sam, you hear this all the time, like you alluded to earlier, that people call, that sometimes they're in tears, they're just all upset, and because they see this as and sometimes, how do they find out about it? Do you ever ask how they find out about the Hardest Hit program?
Well, we do try and find out where the source of the applicants come from. We are partnered with a few different agencies, especially with the Florida Hardest Hit program, as far as people who've been unemployed. So through like
Goodwill,
Goodwill and Career Source. Yeah, these agencies that are placing recently unemployed people. This is a great opportunity. While they're being placed, they can not have to worry about their mortgage payment. So that's how we get a lot of applicants. Also, we've got advisors out on the trail talking to people and then presenting this program as a resource for people who might not know about it.
And your father, Jonathan Lack, you're a speaker at Career Source Brevard frequently, and also Goodwill has a lot of seminars, and there you share this advice. So there's a lot of things out there. Bottom line is there's a lot of things that you might not know as an audience, as a listener, of that's out there to help you, that you just need to know what they are. And that's why I'm glad to be a kind of a real estate advocate here to share our information, because without information, we're just stuck trying to figure out these things on our own, which brings us to some of the things that we'd like to help shine the light on as far as trying to sell property yourself and so forth. I always wonder why people try to do that themselves. And when I do talk to them, there's always a big reasoning. There's a lot of different reasons why they like to sell their home themselves. But usually, bottom line is, once they find out some of the things that they're going to have to do, all of a sudden finding the sources of a professional such as Jonathan Lack as an attorney or a title company or a professional real estate agent makes sense. But we're here to help you get your home ready. If that's going to be your avenue of a resource that you still would like to sell your home, let's think in terms of what a real estate agent does, and then you'll want to mirror what a real estate agent does. So if you're going to still try to tackle selling your home yourself, at least you know what to expect. So as an example, and Jonathan and Sam, please jump in. As an example, if I'm taking a buyer out to look at property, I'm not putting them in my car for many reasons without finding out, are they qualified already for a mortgage? Are they paying cash? So we always want to go to a mortgage company, have them get pre-qualified, pre-approved if possible, to go out and look at property, because sometimes people think they can afford more than they can, or they want to know exactly what price home that they should be looking at. So instead of wasting their time and perhaps a professional's time showing them around, and we find out that they can't even get qualified, why do that? So for sale by owner, you need to find out before you let these strangers into your home. You want to mirror what we do. If we go to the extreme of finding out if these people are qualified, perhaps when someone calls your home, you might want to find out, are you pre-qualified before allowing them to see their home, or are you paying cash or a mortgage? Because that, unfortunately, is a big scam that's happening out there in the real estate market. Even with real estate agents, there's been a lot of different types of situations where we get what would be the word, not burglarized, but it would be accosted or something as a agent, and they don't even like agents to show property by themselves. So you're opening your home up to basically strangers. So you're going to want to know who's coming into your home prior to showing it. So what comments do you have on that? How would someone maybe approach that situation if someone's calling on a for sale by owner and they say, hey, I'd like to see your home tomorrow? Do you have any ideas what you might want to advise someone to say to that potential client?
Well, as you point out, you'd want to speak with the potential purchaser and confirm that they're pre-qualified, confirm that they can come to the home to view it, ask them to bring what's called a pre-qualification letter. And it's really not a loan approval, but it's basically shows that they went to some lender who ran their credit and said, okay, you tell me you make this much money and here's your credit score. Okay, we'll make you this much of a loan. And that way, if they walk into your house with a pre-qualification letter for $100,000 and you're trying to sell your house for $250,000, you're not wasting your time showing it to somebody who clearly cannot afford it. By the same token, if they come in with $200,000 and you're trying to get it for $150,000, okay, good. You got a nice, strong buyer who can afford your home. Now the question is, will they want to buy it? But that would be a very important preliminary question.
I noticed too that, and the statistics will back me up on this, that most people calling for sale by owners are calling them because they can't work with a real estate agent for some reason. Perhaps they can't get qualified. They can't get the mortgage approval, and a real estate agent won't work with them because they can't get loans. And so they're thinking, if I call it for sale by owner, maybe I can talk them into holding paper. Maybe I can they'll finance my home for us. So you have people that are calling that are looking for that seller to participate in the mortgage. Sometimes people are just sometimes they're just nosy neighbors and they want to come in and see what you're doing. But one of the reasons that we always ask sellers to step away from the home when we're showing it is for several reasons. One is people are not comfortable walking around someone else's home with the seller right there because it makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable that they're looking in the seller's closets and so forth. So we have... Go ahead, Sam.
A lot of that, especially one of the reasons they say to maybe have the seller step out, is because you want to be able to picture yourself in this home as a buyer. And if the owner, for sale by owner, is the only one who's doing the selling and is in the home, it's going to be hard to picture for the buyer to feel like it could ever really be their home with.
Exactly. There's so many things to
negative comments and such that you're uncomfortable with. Well, Jean, I don't mean to cut you off, but I see we're running out of time here, and I'm wondering if we'd be able to continue this show next week.
Yes, let's do that.
I think it's important. There's a lot of we got sidetracked with the Hardest Hit program, which is wonderful. And again, if you have questions on that, you can call Lack and Lack Chartered at 321-953-5115. But next week, why don't we discuss the for sale by owners and the many different things we can cover on that. And if Sam, can you come back with us next week?
I'll be here.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today on